Hey man, you should say the N word more often. No, I'm not talking about the N word you think about. I'm talking about the N word no. Just being able to say no more will just free up so much more of your mental bandwidth. And for me, for the longest time, I thought saying no would actually ruin the relationship I had with people, with my friends. But I realized that it actually made them better. And it's interesting how if I actually say yes, but I don't really mean it, that's when the relationship goes downhill. So people aren't afraid of no, they're afraid of an insincere yes. And so I remember at the end of high school, it was at the end of semester, a friend invited me to go to the beach. He was like, "Hey, do you want to come to the beach with me? Cool, it's gonna be a fun time, and we're gonna go like go karting. It's gonna be so hype." And yeah, he hyped me up to it. It was gonna be like the best experience before. And then the night before, I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a bit tired. I just don't really want to go. It's like one of those events where you kind of reluctantly agree, but you don't want to say no because you don't want to offend the other person. And so I tried to convince my parents that I was feeling tired because like their parents like called my parents asking, yeah, let's go, like a very friendly manner. And yeah, I told my parents that I felt tired and I didn't want to go. I didn't even have the balls to tell my friend that I didn't want to go until like later. And so yeah, I just felt like an absolute dick in that situation. And I was completely in the wrong there. Like, in that case, I should have just, told him the truth. Didn't feel like it. Should have told him, like, up front, as opposed to, like, leading him on. And I realized that, like, it's always better to say no up front than to say yes and then, like, change your mind and go back on it. Because even when I did say yes, I was still, like, a bit reluctant. Didn't really want to say it. So if I just had the balls to say like what I truly like, wanted, then maybe that relationship would have gone like much better. So that's definitely like one thing I've realized that I've been like an absolute bitch for most of my life. And I was always afraid of saying no, rejecting other people. Like, people saying like other times, like people saying like, let's go out to this place, hang out, let's go dinner. And yeah, just didn't want to say no. I was like, yeah, sure. And then last minute I'll just like, pull out. And even if I did go, let's say I did say yes and actually did follow through, I wouldn't even be enjoying myself. I'll just be there on my phone, looking all sad and stuff. And so that's one thing that I really realized that I wanted to change about myself. And so I realized that if I said yes, but I didn't even want to do it, I would feel actually much worse because like saying no is like ripping off the band-aid like once like very quickly so you only feel the pain for a very short second, whereas saying yes and actually going through with your word but not actually feeling like you want to, that's just a very slow painful like experience, like you're slowly ripping off the band-aid because I'll be in these social situations where I didn't even want to be in the first place. um, and so I realized the importance of saying no. Now, obviously, there's a fine line, between saying no and then saying no and actually being a dick. For example, like if you're in like a team project or something and you're asked to write a script or something and you say no, well, yeah, well, you're just being a dick in that case. You got to like meet your responsibility. But there's some things that are more like luxuries, like hanging out with friends, where you're not really tied with a strong sense of responsibility to hang out with them. Like, sure, you want to be like a good friend and everything, but there's nothing saying that you like have to do it. And so next time, like whenever like someone would ask me to like hang out and I generally just didn't want to go, I'll just say like no, I'm busy or like a bit tired. Like I'll give them like a genuine answer. And I realize it's much better just to be like that upfront than opposed to like constantly just changing your mind or giving them like a false sense of like security. And that's like one thing that I'm definitely just doing much more of going forward. And I just feel so much like liberated because of that. And so if you genuinely don't want to do something or go to a social event, just say no. And from my experience, like to your surprise, like the other person's response is never bad. Like it's always, oh, cool. Yeah, I understand. And it's much worse than if you said yes and you go there and you're visibly annoyed and you're like there and you're like just, making the entire vibe like bad. Like just say no, be direct, don't make up a reason. Hey, I got work to catch up on. I'm occupied with some work. Cool, I can't go. And so that's like saying no to other people. Now, there is a slight nuance here. Like, I don't want the impression to be like I say no to absolutely everything. Because I'll give you an example. When I was studying in the US, like, there was so many social events that I could go to. I was tired, I was jet lagged, and I could say no. But deep down, since I knew I was only in the States for half a year, like 5 to 6 months, I knew I was never going to get this opportunity again. So even though I was tired, I had work, I know like going out to these like social events was worth it, because that was what made it special. And it turned out to be that case. And so the thing I want to like say here is not to contradict myself, but just to always keep at the back of your mind that sometimes saying no is the easy thing. It's the bitch move. Like always keep that in mind. Like ask yourself deep down, are you scared of like social interactions? Because I mean, honestly, for me, that was like the truth. Like initially, I just said no because I just didn't want to hang out with people. Um, because I was like scared. You know, I didn't want to like talk. I didn't want to socialize. I just want to like play video games at home. And like now, I only say no when it actually like benefits me. Like today, I'm actually going out with a friend to record like a Chinese rap song, which is something that I typically don't do. But obviously, if like a lot of these events pop up, then I'll start saying no, not because I'm scared, but because like there's more important things to do. And so I want to keep like that's a like key distinction. Like you want to say no when it actually benefits you, and you're not saying no just because you don't want to do something that's uncomfortable. So that's a key lesson that I have to like remind myself every day. Like whenever I feel like I have to say no, is it because I'm scared of the opportunity, or is it because I actually have like work to do? I'm not just making up the fact that I'm feeling tired because I don't actually want to go. So again, if it's the first case and you're saying no because you have more important things to do, then 100% say no, because I realize the biggest source of unhappiness is when I don't say no, when deep down I don't want to. So when you actually say no more and more, you're actually saying yes to your own identity and boundaries. So it's kind of like yin yang. When you say yes, but you want to say no, essentially saying no to your own dreams and values. And so the issue with saying no is that you sometimes feel like you're missing out on something, like social acceptance. That's why it's hard. But just keep in mind that saying no is a skill. And it's saying no in the right situations that is a skill. For example, it's like, do you want to step on a nail? It's like, no. Like you probably wouldn't want to like step on it. Like you probably wouldn't think like yes at all. So saying no in that case doesn't mean anything. You're not really training the skill, because unless you want to bring pain to yourself for whatever reason. But it's hard to say no when there's actually something that you may lose or something that you may miss out, like going to a social gathering. That's when saying no becomes like an actual skill. So always keep that in mind, that like you just got to be like comfortable with like saying no, because I know for the longest time for me, I was not. And I remember I read somewhere that the biggest regret of dying people is, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. And so this goes like quite deep. Like if you're not able to like say no, and for me that was the case for the longest time, that's when I felt like the most sad and just depressed about life, because I wasn't living true to myself. I was living to the expectations that others set like on me. And so like going forward, especially into like 2025, my default response to like everything is like no. And then I'll closely analyze to see if the opportunity is valuable, and then I'll say yes. So keep that in mind. I'm planning on saying the N word much more this year. So with that being said, hope you enjoyed the video, and hope you can also say the N word more in your life.